melody of different instruments. A new style of an ancient music composition. The sound of the steppe is eternity, and the history will never end. Watch the program Sounds of the Great Steppe on Kazakh TV. These sounds are extremely attractive. It is so deep and delicate, impossible to resist its allure. More so in a combination with other instruments. Expectedly, then it became popular among people. Exactly then I found myself unbearably in love with the instrument. I can't imagine my life without the instrument now. We have grown close. A quite interesting place to find yourself in. Creating a palatable composition was hard for me despite the fact that each separate sound was addictive for me. This kept me shackled for a long time. For almost 2 years I was trying my hand at creating new pieces. There weren't many of us working in this field to learn from either. Yidil Kusainov, Saule Apa and Shahpan were the few who ventured in the scene. These people came before me. We gathered to listen to each other in the absence of a bigger musical family. I was overwhelmed by doubt, but in the course of constant practice, I had an opportunity to open the first Zhitigen musical school. The necessity to teach the new generation of musicians has made me look at the instrument from a different angle and discover its new aspects. Now I can't help but feel that the Zhitigen is my brainchild, which feels immensely connected to a point where I can't imagine my life without it. I was there on every stage of its rebirth and establishment. It couldn't be any different. The Zhitigen is one of the oldest, but unfortunately one of the least developed musical instruments. Ranging from the 7 to 22 string variations, it had abysmally small amount of pieces ready to be played. However, these days, Zhitigen steps forward as the leading instrument. She seemingly knows every secret that Zhitigen has hid from everybody. Its sounds alone are mysterious yet playful. The compositions tend to strike the deepest notes in the listener's hearts and unravel the most coveted corners of her soul.
Бұл жетіген ең көне аспаптардың көнесі деп айтуға болады. Біздің заманымызға дейін 5-4 ғасырда пайда болған.
It is fair to say that the Zhitigen is a very old instrument. It initially appeared in the 5th century BC and after a prolonged successful use, disappeared in the 19th century. The 1 century of amnesty hadn't left us anything but the oral recalls of what was played on the Zhitigen. The repertoire was completely destroyed. It is believed that there were even special cues written for Zhitigens. According to this belief, sad, even tragical pieces were used to be played on the Zhitigens, while currently we only perform cheerful, energetic compositions aimed at bringing up warm memories and gentle emotions in its listeners. For the lack of the original notes written for Zhitigen, we have to adapt the pieces written for the Dombra, Sibizgi and Kobuz. Only a few turned out to be well because certain sounds could be made by only the Dombra and are hard to reproduce and end up acquiring a different flow of sounds. The creation of composition meant for Zhitigen is underway right now. The young composers try hard to refill the stock.
Бірте-бірте енді аспаптың үніне лайық, нәзік үніне лайық әдемі күйлер, әуендер шығарып енді бастадық. Қазір енді сонымен толықтырамыз. осы жерге арнайы осы көне со бұрынғы алғашқы кездердегі лайықтаған күйлерді
Here I prefer my first old cues. It was my first attempt to adapt something written for a dombra. Now my roster of cues is longer. It is mainly comprised from the adaptations. By Jigets, Kok Serke was among the first. Originally meant to be played on the dombra, we altered it and performed it with the Sazgien Sazi ensemble. After being harmonized for Jitigen, the cue became more touching and more emotional. We were able to convey the author's emotional state, and it is wonderful. The final result was accepted very well. My understanding was that Jitigen somehow touches people more than regular performances of the dombra. This particular cue is in my repertoire till now. Ironically, now it is perceived as originally Jitigen rather than a dombra cue. Karshiga Akhmediyarov's Kosbasar cue entered our roster about a year ago. We altered the piece to incorporate the gentler, delicate sounds made by the Jitigen. It took us a long time to find a cue that would be mendable and sound harmoniously after alterations. Besides the Kosbasar, we found a number of other cues in his repertoire that suited our requirements. If Akhmediyarov were a Jitigen player, he probably would have written some beautiful pieces for the Jitigen as well. I believe we were able to get across the subtle musicality of this cue in full. This is Kayrakbay Shaligien's Bugin Susar. It laid on Zhitigen so smoothly as if it were meant for it originally. This composition shows the whole range of the instrument, utilizing the lowest and the highest strings of the sounding board. This results in a dimensional sound that chills and boils the listener's blood. Tremendous! Bulgin Susar has many compositional whirlpools that result from the constant acceleration and slowdown of the tempo. Played on a dombra, it would have a beautiful flow as well, but it would still be very different to that made by the Zhitigen. This cue is probably the best fit for the Zhitigen, just like the Zhitigen is the most suitable instrument for it. The practice of adapting the dombra cues for Zhitigen wasn't met well by the dombra players. Why do you perform this cue on the Zhitigen? Don't you understand that you destroyed the tempo? It sounds terrible, is what we hear from time to time. But never did we receive negative feedback about these 3 cues. Nobody had given us a bad mark for this work, and this reaction liberates me to perform them everywhere to my heart's content.